All right, we're still in brush land here, and this time we're going to talk about making some custom brushes. And the first brush that we're going to make is going to be um, a scatter brush. And in order for us to do that, I want to use the pencil, and I want to make sure that my pencil is set for fill new strokes. Just tweaking my tolerances there. And I want to make sure that I have a solid fill. So I don't want to stroke, I just want to fill. And I'm going to draw a skull. And you want to make sure you close your path. So Alt or Option will do that. A little bottom jaw here. And I'm going to need some eyes, so I'll draw an eye, and an eye, and a nose. But you can't see them. So this will be nice. We get to go back and use the Pathfinder again. And this is a good time to revisit that. Excuse me. Pardon. Pathfinder from the window. And I want to use the one that punches out holes. So I'm kind of looking at these. You know, oh, it looks like a hole is being punched. And it's called the Exclude button. Under the shape modes, if you hit Exclude, it punches it right out. That window can go away now. So there's our skull, and or whatever it is you drew. I don't, you can make a brush out of any shape. Right now, I'm just I guess I'm getting excited for Halloween. With the artwork selected that you want to define as a brush, you can go to your brush pull down deal and use this one, or there's also a brush palette. You can see that you've got color swatches, brushes. So either one will work. Basically, what we're trying to get to is that little drop-down menu, New Brush. So with the artwork selected and you saying New Brush, it asks what kind of brush you want to do. And so we're doing scatter brush. Calligraphic brushes, really, there's no point in making those things. Because they're just circles. Just a circle, no matter what you use to define it. Scatter brush, though, if I hit OK, opens up the options. I'm going to call this skulls with a Z, because that's hip. We have all these options about our scatter. Basically, what this brush is going to do, it's going to allow us to draw a path, and then along that path, we'll have skulls of a certain size. They'll be spaced out by whatever our settings are here, and they'll be scattered based on our settings. And excuse me, and rotated. So if I hit OK, get rid of that menu, grab my paintbrush, and I want to make sure I go choose my skull. So there it is. So I've just selected my brush of the skull. At this point, if I draw a path, I get skulls along the path, and that's pretty sweet. Super sweet, right? Maybe you're already starting to figure out like how this could be used. It could be like a border or something. Kind of fun. Now to edit that thing, you just go back to it and you double click on it. And we can change the size. So if I change the size down to like 50%. My skulls are smaller, right? So if I go back in and edit that again, I could change the spacing to also be 50%. Or even less. I'll go like to 25. Oh, this is good. Since I have a brush stroke down that's from a brush, and I've gone in and edited that brush, Illustrator realizes that I have previous strokes using a different setting. So what it wants to know is, do I want to leave those alone, or do I want to apply my change to those strokes? It's kind of a nice feature. I'm just going to leave them, and I'm going to draw a new stroke line with the brush. So here is spacing now down to 25%. They're really crammed together. Go back and edit that. So now if I want some scatter, I can put scatter up to 50%. Here's that question again. Do you want to apply it or do you want to leave it? We may as well just try apply it so you can see what happens. Nothing. Nothing happened. No scatter. That's interesting. It's fixed. That's because it's fixed. Aha! You get to watch me problem solve. I don't want fixed scatter. It moved off the path. I know that much. Moved off the path 50%, but I didn't get any scatter. It's because I want to go with some random. And random now gives me two sliders, basically. How much do you want to scatter in one direction and the other? So if I went from like a negative 25 to a positive 25, that means that the skulls will be scattered along the path in either direction. I'll hit OK. I'm not going to apply to strokes. I'm going to leave them because I just want a new line. Delete you. So here's my new path. Oh, you brutal. Why? Why aren't you working? Hang on. This stinks. This was going to be a good movie. I'm scatter, random, 25% this way and 25% that way. Why aren't you scattering? I'm going to go greater. Okay, apply. There we go. I don't know. I don't know. This is what I wanted to see the whole time, but for some reason it just wasn't doing it. But anyways, now you can see I've got skulls all over the place. And still, if I were to select that path, it's still just a line. One brush stroke, skulls all over the place. Based on... God, they just changed again, didn't they? It's so bizarre. Something's going on here. I'm not really liking it. I'm going to hit preview just so I can see what happens. Okay. Yeah, that's good. I'm starting to see the results. That's helpful. So I clicked on the preview button, and that's something that we're going to see a lot in Illustrator. It's very helpful to see the results of what it is that you're changing. Space them out a little bit more. Okay, so now that we've tapped into random, you should check out random for size. So random for size means I also have two sliders. So I can get some really small and whatever, some bigger ones. This is my range, basically. So I'm going to have some that are down to 19% and some that are up to 57% of the size. I should keep them in order, though. So minimum, maximum spacing is currently fixed, so it's going to be, whatever, pretty consistent spacing. I could change that to random. So my spacing ends up being a little bit different. Okay. Scatter we've already done. And then now rotation. Excuse me, I can rotate all of them uniformly. Or I can go to random. And here we can get the skulls kind of rotating in different directions. So these are all fun little characteristics of this scatter brush. And you could do ink spatter or just dots. If you're trying to do like dots along a path, that's a pretty easy thing to do. So I recommend you come in and play with this thing. The other thing that we have here as far as our options go is pressure, and this will allow us to take advantage of the tablet and the stylus and how much the pressure will change. I'm going to leave the strokes. I'm going to create my own again. Go away. So here I started off very lightly and I pushed very hard by the end, and so the light touch of with the stylus on the tablet gave me small skulls. The hard pressure on the tablet gave me large ones. Okay, so that's our scatter brush. I'm going to just select and delete that. Now I want to create an art brush, or I think it's art or artistic brush. And this time I'm going to create like just like a messy, what might look like a brush stroke. So I'm going to get my fill set to black again. I'm using my pencil, and I'm just going to create this sort of random shape here, and then close my path. Doink. All right, so here's my sort of chaotic um, piece of art. I'm going to select it, and I just want to have it so that it's, excuse me, allergies? What? I want to have it so it's fairly horizontal. You'll see why. So when I have this selected now and I go back up to my brush well and click on New Brush, this time I'm going to choose Art Brush. Okay. Here are my options. And you have width. Is it fixed? Is it dealing with pressure? It won't really matter with pressure. It's I think you'll understand why once we actually see how this thing works. You have some brush scale options, and we'll play with these a little bit here. But first, I just want to go in and watch what happens now. So I'm going to delete that artwork. I'm going to grab my brush, my paintbrush. I'm going to select the new thing that I made. Oh, I didn't name it. That was not a good idea. So now my brush stroke displays the artwork along the path. So it's still just a path. All right. So my path was that long, and it's going to stretch that artwork for that entire run. So if it's short, it squeezes it together. If it's longer, it stretches it out. If I arch it, it'll bend it along that arch. Okay, if I try to draw like a circle, it'll kind of spin it around. But every time I draw, it's going to be that same artwork extending itself along whatever path it is that I give for that brushstroke. And it's pretty cool to be able to create these things. I'm going to select all and delete. But when you get into things like this, where I'm scratching back and forth and creating like sort of a rough brush area, obviously that's not the best choice. The best choice or the best use of this brush is just over strokes that are rather simple in nature. So every time I excuse me, draw a path, it'll scale itself to the path. Now if I go back and edit this thing and I mess with scale proportionately, turn preview on, you can see what happened. All of my brush strokes ended up well, let's leave them. Okay. So here's the short path, and it scrunched it up, right? But if I do that now, it scales that shape proportionately so that it's never going to get squished or stretched. It's just going to be thinner or fatter. And that's pretty handy. Select all, delete. So this could be anything. It could be any artwork. It could be a person, could be words. It's pretty cool. So those are the two main brushes that I'm going to show you how to make. There are other ones. There are the bristle brush and the pattern brush, and I recommend you just go check them out on your own. You can't break anything, and you'll learn real quick what the difference is between a bristle brush and a pattern brush. The pattern brush will not. Well, I think the pattern brush was like that checkered thing that we did yesterday. We actually used one, or whatever that was that you watched that movie. So yeah, play around, and it's probably one of the best things you can do when learning a program is just to kind of get in there and start experimenting with things. So there's our new brushes, and next we'll talk about the blob and the eraser.